welcome back to my channel. Excuse the wet hair, I've just had a bath, although it's almost dry now. Yeah, in today's video, this video is kind of multifaceted really. First of all, I had a massive OCD flare the other day, which is very unfortunate. Basically, I've begun attending some OCD groups run by OCD UK and OCD Action, and they're really good groups. I joined an autism one and a general one, and they were both really good. So I decided to join the OCD contamination one, run by OCD Action, and that was yesterday evening at 7 o'clock. And beforehand, I did kind of think to myself, I thought, I hope no one sets off my contamination OCD. You know, is this a risk, me attending this particular group, that, say, someone else's contamination OCD might trigger some new thoughts in me, or make me think about something I hadn't considered before. So this was at the back of my mind, and I was thinking, well, I can always mute it, you know, if someone says something triggering, I can always mute it, I don't need to hear the rest, sort of thing. So it almost felt like I was jinxed when the very first speaker, who happened to be a new person, mentioned something that I'm not going to say what it is in this video because just because I know, well, because I don't want to set off someone else's OCD, basically, because it happened to me, I'm aware it could happen to someone else, so I'm not going to say what it was, just in case. It might not set off your OCD, but, you know, I don't want to set off anyone's OCD, so I'm not going to mention exactly what they said. And also, yeah, and also that might break confidentiality as well, potentially, so I'm not going to mention any of the details. But basically, it set off my OCD because they referred to something which I'm already worried about, but it basically wasn't at the forefront of my consciousness. So it's kind of like an OCD which I do have. It's like a concern I have, a worry that I have. It's not at the forefront of my consciousness, say like my fear of COVID is, or like my other kind of more dominant OCDs, but it is an obsession which I have had because it does revolve around health and safety, and anything connecting to health and safety is a big fear, a big worry of mine, you know, things going wrong, health and safety, something happening, you know, something dangerous that puts my life or health at risk. Anything like that is a massive OCD potential trigger for me. Anything to do with health and safety, disease, danger, not just disease though, anything that can put your health at risk or is dangerous, anything to do with health and safety, is something which I've always had a preoccupation with for like as long as I can remember. So basically they had to say just one word, and I was like, oh dear, that's just triggered me. Stupidly, I didn't immediately mute it. I should have muted it at that point, as soon as they said the trigger word. I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I just kind of thought, oh, it can't be that bad. It's not going to trigger me that much. What can go wrong, sort of thing. I should have triggered it straight away when they said that. I should have muted it straight away when they said the trigger word. But then they said 2 more words, and by that point, it had spiraled in my brain. So I did that at that point, put it on mute. I was like, I don't want to hear anymore. However, this is really bad. I don't know what happens in my brain, but I couldn't resist. Part of me couldn't resist looking at the chat just to see. I think it was actually OCD reassurance seeking at that point. I wanted to look in the chat just to reassure myself that it was okay. Definitely OCD reassurance seeking that set in, which is basically like a compulsion where you're trying to seek evidence that this is okay. So then I did look at the chat because I was trying to find messages in the chat which would say that this is okay, it's not something I need to worry about. But that just made my OCD worse, as it tends to do. And then I did contribute myself, just because I wanted to. I didn't tell anyone that this had set me off, because I tend to be very secretive about my OCD, and also I didn't want to offend anyone, because like I might make a person feel bad, that they might, you know, knowing that they've triggered me. I just didn't want to mention that. So I kept it all hidden anyway. But yeah, I did share my own OCD to them. I did tell them about my own OCD. which, as you all know, revolves around COVID. Not just COVID though. That's just part of it. That's not even all of my OCD. I've got so many OCDs. It just happens obviously because COVID is to do with health and safety. Obviously, that's like a biggie. But I worry about literally anything to do with health and safety, as I say, not just COVID. But yeah, so I talked about that, and what am I saying? Yeah, and then I mentioned also in passing that I shared the same concern as the previous speaker who had triggered me. I just said that, and then someone tried to offer advice, I guess trying to reassure me, but as we all know, sometimes advice can actually make your OCD worse, because you're basically thinking, oh my god, now I need to check something I didn't need to check before, because they've just given me information which I didn't even realise. Now this has made my sense of responsibility, and OCD, by the way, is often about a sense of responsibility and doubt and worry that you're doing something wrong and that you're ultimately going to be blamed because you should have done the wrong thing, you should have done the right thing and didn't. So then that sense of responsibility, which is a very big part of OCD, then gets switched on because I'm thinking, oh, they've just given me this information I didn't even know about. Now I need to check to make sure that everything's okay. And I didn't even know that this existed before this bit of information they gave me. So I already had this concern about, I won't mention it, what they said to do with health and safety. And I didn't even know. I said, I'm worried about this, I said, and then they gave me a bit of advice to say, this could reassure you sort of thing, to know that it can be done, like safely, whatever. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know this. This has just made my life even more complicated because now I've got an extra sense of responsibility, something else I need to check that I didn't even want to know about. And now my whole evening is basically ruined, effectively. So then afterwards I phoned my dad for reassurance. And I was worried about doing that because basically, when people get stressed, it makes my OCD worse. Thankfully, he didn't get stressed over it. I did actually forewarn him before, and I said, don't get stressed. That's probably what I should do whenever I phone my dad up around OCD, because I think it's kind of made him, I think because I've already kind of forewarned him, as opposed to just suddenly going in there. And thankfully, he didn't get stressed, which meant my OCD didn't spiral, thankfully. And actually, he was very good about it and said, yeah, we can check this sort of thing. But yeah, oh my god. But the thing is like, it really spoiled my evening. And then you know what happens with OCD, when one thing has been triggered, it spirals. And then it's like everything seems to go wrong. I don't know what it is, but it's like maybe because you're already in a negative frame of mind, you then make more mistakes, you then, accidents happen, not like big accidents, just like little things, but it's because your brain is like already in this negative space. So it's almost like it creates, there's a word for it, isn't it? It's like I don't know whether it's called the law of negative return or something, or like I think it's the law of attraction. I mean, I know that's kind of a little bit like psychobabble, but there is some truth in it nonetheless, and it's to do with if you're already in a negative space, and obviously that tends to feed on itself, and I think maybe that, or maybe it's just maybe it's just that you're psychologically then going to notice more negative stuff happening, or it feels worse or something. I don't know. Yeah, I still haven't quite got over it. But you know what happens when my OCD's been triggered like that? I have to literally confront myself to my fear. This is really weird, right? It doesn't happen with COVID, that's different. But when I say confront myself to the fear, I don't mean literally going to expose myself to this something that actually even a normal person wouldn't want to be exposed to. But like, it kind of makes me, like, say, like, I've got a bit of OCD about, but what if it's there, even though I know logically it probably isn't. So it's not like I'm actually exposing myself to it, if you get what I'm saying. It's that I'm there's something, I'm kind of aware it could be around me, potentially, even though I know it probably isn't. So it's like, almost like, and then say if I've got an OCD about touching something that might be contaminated, with it, whatever, then it's like I have to go and expose myself to that, in a sort of a way that feels safe to me. It's almost like, though, because then I sort of feel, what now can happen? I've exposed myself. I haven't exposed myself to it, at least I hope not, but it's kind of, it then actually weirdly makes the fear go down. I don't know what that's about. Maybe it's almost like when the brain is exposed to something fearful, it can't obsess about it so much anymore, because OCD is often about possibilities and anticipation. But it doesn't work like that with COVID, though, by the way. That's different anyway, that's different, but, because if it did, then I would be able to go near people, you know what I mean? But, with some of my OCDs, weirdly, it's almost like I have to expose myself to it just to get it over and done with. So I'm not obsessing about it anymore so much. And then it's weird. It's like, now what can happen? I've exposed myself to this. If that was contaminated with it, then the next time next time something happens that might expose myself to it, well, I've already been exposed to it, even though I haven't. At least I hope not. But it kind of makes me feel like, well, I've already done it, sort of thing. It's really weird how the brain works. But I still have OCD, and so again, I did it because that triggered a new OCD, not connected with the I'm not going to mention it just in case I trigger someone. It did set off a sort of a new OCD focus in my attempt to confront myself with the potential contaminatory thing. I then did something else which triggered another part of my OCD, and then I had to check it, and I still got that OCD in my head now, which isn't connected to the thing in question, but is connected to something. Basically, I felt that I thought I'd moved something that shouldn't have been moved by accident, and I had to keep on checking to make sure it was in place. Oh God, I hate it. And then I'm like, don't touch it, because then then you might make it worse, and it's okay, sort of thing. But then I still have to go and look and say, is it how it was before did I accidentally touch it? Did I accidentally move it? Oh, I hate OCD. So all of this because of one thing someone said yesterday. It's crazy. And this, by the way, but the thing is though, should I not attend any of these groups just in case it triggers my OCD? Because I don't know if that would be good either. Because this could, by the way, this could happen at any group, not just an OCD group, by the way. This could literally happen at any group. Like, I've been to autism groups before where people have triggered me by saying something. I've been at all sorts of groups. I've been in conversation with someone who set off my OCD by mistake. So I mean, this could literally happen every time I converse with someone, every time I'm in a group, every time I listen to the radio. I was listening to the radio and my OCD was triggered because of some health and safety thing. I immediately took my headphones off at that point, but it was too late. I'd already been triggered. So this can happen any time. Do I not listen to the radio? Do I not read the news? What do you do? So, it's like, I suppose you just have to deal with it, don't you? Exposure and response prevention, all that. But yeah, it just felt like sod's law because, I thought this could happen, and it happened. So I'm not a superstitious person or anything, but like, seriously, man, it's crazy, First speaker as well. Okay, moving over to video number 2 now, because I've just got a few other things I want to say. So moving over to video number 2.